Build a virtuous Sangha out of compassion for the sake of this assembly and all living beings. Please turn the wonderful Dharma wheel to teach and guide us how to end birth and death, leave suffering and attain bliss, and quickly realize non-birth. Cung kính đại đức tăng thịnh, vì thứ pháp hội cập nhật thiết chúng sanh, tình chuyên diệu pháp luân giao đạo ngã môn, như á liêu sanh thoát tư ly khổ đắc lạc, tốc chứng vô sanh. Homage to the Blessed, Noble, and Perfectly Enlightened One. Nam mô Sa Nan Tô Sư Chế Đô Ye Ở La Hờ Đi San Mèo San Phu Tô Xế. Nam mô Đà Thác Tha Tô Già Đà Già La Hà Đế Tam Miêu Tam Bồ Đà Tọa. The unsurpassed, profound, subtle, and wonderful Dharma in 100,000 million aeons is difficult to encounter. Now that I'm able to see and hear, I will receive and maintain it. I vow to fathom the thus come one's true and actual principles. Wu shang sheng she wei miao fa bai qian wan jie nan zao yu, wo jin jian wen de shou chi, yuan jie ru lai zhen shi yi. Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, Venerable Huineng, Venerable YongHua, Venerable Lafong people, and all good new advisors of Emitofuo. 诸佛菩萨、六祖、师父、上人、各位出家人、各位善知识，弥陀佛。Chư Phật Bồ Tát kính thưa lục tổ ở Thượng Đế Hoa Kỳ Thầy Thầy cô và các vị thầy trí thức A Di Đà Phật. Today is the 12th of October. We are gathered here at Wei Mountain Temple to continue discussing the Sixth Patriarch Sutra. We are presently on chapter 8, but last time there's an outstanding question on chapter 7. So we're going to take up that question first before we move on to chapter 8. Slide, no. Okay, here. (582). Okay, question was, thank you. What is the question again?
The question was from Ching. It says on page 582, 若依而行之，释迦系复. It's restriction to follow the first verse, so should we follow it? Master seems to suggest that.
So no, background. According to increase one's bondage. Okay, so what is the question again?
Venerable Huineng said it is restriction to follow the first verse. 若依而行之，释迦系复. So should we follow it? Should we follow 若依而行? The first one, 此即为明心地的 the verse, and Master seems to suggest us follow the verse.
But then I changed my mind. There you go. You have both of the best of both worlds. I said, first follow it, you become enlightened. But then after Master Huineng says so, I said, okay, I agree with him. Don't follow it. Anyone has a problem with that? Better not raise your hand. Okay. Good question. Okay. What Master Huineng, when Master Huineng says, if you follow it, to cultivate according to that verse, the way that, what's his name again? Wolun, okay? If Wolun, you follow Wolun's words, the way Wolun does it, okay? Then it will increase your bondage. Okay, so that is correct. That is to point out that Wolun's understanding through his verse is actually a form of bondage to gradual cultivation. So that is correct. If you follow Wolun's verses, the way Wolun does it, it will increase his bondage to the incremental enlightenment Dharma that he understands. Okay, it is still enlightenment, but it's incremental enlightenment because of that attachment to the incremental process. So there's, even though he's going to keep on making progress, okay, however, it is only gradual progress because of the bondage to this incremental Dharma. All right? So that's why Master Huineng immediately said, if this is how you cultivate, then you are subject to bondage. Okay, which is correct. So that's why, because of that, Wolun, because of that teaching, Wolun was able to let go of that bondage. Okay, see that. So the bondage here, the word bondage here refers to Wolun's attachment. However, depending who you are, okay, if you are, let's say, high level Wolun, okay, then your following your cultivation is actually Wolun's process. All right, because that's all you know. Let's face it. Why do you have certain enlightenment? What is certain teaching? This pertains to chapter 8 as well. We can close this thing here. We don't need this slide anymore. Move on to chapter 8 because we're talking about gradual versus certain. So what is gradual? What is certain enlightenment? What is certain teaching? What is it? Where were we? Are we on slide 3? 4? Okay, we were slide 3. We're talking about certain versus gradual. What is certain teaching anyway? And this is a good question. These are all valid questions. What is certain teaching anyway? Black.
Master, last week you gave the example of the airplane going down the runway and then taking off once it catches enough speed. So I was reflecting on it actually all week. It was very interesting to me. The sudden.
All right. So it's the airplane lifting.
So yeah, it's a
lifting
jump,
off
a jump
the ground. That moment is called sudden enlightenment.
Another thing,
Yes?
Another thing you said that
Or it could be a rocket lifting off the ground. It's also called sudden enlightenment. Or it could be a, what do you call those things now? Helicopter, the thing. Osprey. You guys have no sense of defense. You're boring. Osprey airplane, in Japan, where they're falling off the skies like dead birds, okay, and killing a lot of Japanese. We used to rain atomic bombs. Now we're raining Osprey helicopters or airplanes. It's a love and hate relationship between the Americans and the Japanese, in case you haven't realized it. Anyway, so the moment you lift off the ground is called sudden enlightenment. Okay? Now, the difference between the various types of sudden enlightenment is how far you can go, right? Boom! Osprey, you can lift up so far, right? And that's it. It levels off. Helicopter, same thing. A Boeing 737 MAX, it won't last long because it will crash. Okay? So, but you go to let's say what does Tesla have? SpaceX have what? What is that called? Huh? The rocket, what is it called? You guys really are so uninformed. How come I'm more informed than you are? Huh? We are so boring. Next, I know probably a much better pizza joint than you. But today we're not talking pizza, okay? Or gelato. Self-control. Hey, you. Self-control. Anyway, so the difference in the sudden teaching is like a different kind of airplanes or aviation thing you use to lift off the ground, right? Okay, but that moment you lift off is called sudden enlightenment. So far, so good? Is that clear? Don't get confused. It's not the same. So the difference is that Master Huineng, when he teaches sudden enlightenment, okay, he has no restrictions. He goes from very low level, okay, to for Wolen it's probably not very high, okay, because the guy a little bit stuck, okay, so it's not very high. But Master Huineng, when he taught one of his better disciples, which one is that? I don't remember. Anyway, the better ones, they lift off a lot, they go a lot further. Okay? So the sudden teaching is from the good known advisor. That's why it happens. So this is what the Hinayana and Theravadan people, they don't understand. They grind it out. Okay? That's too slow. So the Chinese Mahayana, okay, like you, okay, you American Mahayana, you know better. You come and draw near good no advisor and listen. And it may look like you're not making progress, but one day, because of all this, you lift off. You understand that? It's preparation. All this time, okay? It may look like you look like a Vietnamese, like a clod of dirt, okay? Because Vietnamese has a saying, ngu như cục đất, okay? I mean, you are as stupid as a clod of dirt, and you are. But preparation, you're running. A cloud of dirt, running. Okay, pick up speed, and then boom, you lift off. You got that? It's a test. Okay? It's a test of your perseverance. So all this, if you really believe in this Mahayana certain teaching, all of that, nothing is ever wasted. Everything is preparing for you to lift off eventually. Is that clear? You don't worry about when you're going to lift off. You can lift off when you're supposed to lift off. What's more important is you will lift off and how far you can lift off. Because the Dharma of certain enlightenment is not limited to your imagination. It's only limited by your ability to receive the teaching. So if, for someone like Wu, Master Huineng says, hey, you have an attachment to certain, to grinding it out, okay? Therefore, you have to let go of that. So he let go of that. So I imagine he leaped about 2 or 3 steps instead of 1, okay? But for much higher level person, the lift off will be much farther, much higher. Is that clear? So that's why it's dependent on your level depends on your attachment, how far you can let go, how much you can let go. Okay, but for Wu, he's so stuck on the gradual thing, the gradual enlightenment, the gradual process of grinding it out. Okay, which is necessary, okay, until you meet a good known advisor who says, there's a quicker way. Am I making sense? So you need to grind it out every day, okay? Every day. You grind out. You come to the lecture and you listen, there's a sudden enlightenment. I'm just trying to get a job. Okay, I'm trying to appease my beloved husband who lost his job recently due to the pandemic. Okay, so your needs are different. However, all this lecture, all this information is planting the seeds for you to eventually reach certain enlightenment. Okay? The thing we give you at Wei Mountain Temple is not limited to gradual enlightenment. What interests us is the leap. Okay? All right? And that's a process that only Mahayana understands. Why gradual is one level, sudden is multiple levels, and what does it take to leap from one to higher versus middle versus intermediate and whatever or beginners. Okay, all right. So that's what it is. That's the difference. So each good know advisor will have different insights, different abilities, varying abilities to help you that will determine how high you can jump, if you will. That's from a good know advisor. So your certain enlightenment, the certain teaching, is totally dependent on the good knowing advisor. So far, so good? Does it help? So when you don't have a good advisor, you have to grind it out, because that's all you know. Let's face it. But when you meet with someone like Master Huineng, you say, the heck with whatever I know, the heck with it. You hear me? I don't care. When Master Huineng says, if you keep on doing this, you increase your attachment, you increase your bondage. What do? Most of my disciples, they say, why? Prove it. You're contradicting Master Hsuan. Yeah, I am. But he's teaching, the incremental, the gradual thing. We're not doing gradual. Okay? Yeah. So that's why when a person at Wolan, he met with Master Huineng, and Master Huineng says, you're doing it in the spirit of being a bondage. And he immediately got it. Okay? And that's what separates many Chinese from most Americans. They have this in their culture, they have in their DNA, they have this seed that says, when a good knowing advisor gives you instructions, okay, you don't say why. You guys is too smart, too logical. Okay? And that's what's happening with the new Chinese, the modern Chinese. They're becoming Americanized, they say, I'm going to compete with America, United States, Europe, therefore, I will not be successful until, not just the Chinese, the Vietnamese, the Malaysians, and you name it, and those poor Asians over there. They're now measuring their success based on American standards. Okay? And that's why they lost their ways. And that's why the Chinese patriarch, the previous one, not the current one, the previous one, had to leave China and bring it over here, because over here, our culture is not stuck like that. The culture, yes, most of the Western culture is bondage, and that's what we preserve, we save and share with the Chinese and the Vietnamese and the Filipinos. Okay, we're glad to share with that, with them that bondage things. Okay, but for the small group at Wei Mountain Temple, we don't share you the bondage thing. We share with you the leaping thing. Okay. So we're teaching you more of the gibbons. Anyone knows gibbons? See, I'm testing your English vocabulary. yeah. The monkeys who can leap very high. They can leap up to 9 meters. From the ground, they leap up to 9 meters. You know that? As a gibbon, it's some kind of chimpanzee with a black face. Black faces matter. All right? Does it help? Okay, so that's what Master Huineng was saying, and that's what Wolan got. That's how he became enlightened. All right, so again, it's pointing out, Master Huineng pointed out to Wolan that you are attached to grinding it out. Okay? You met with me now. There's a better way called sudden teaching that comes from me. Anyone else? All right? So that's why the magic that occurred at that time only, okay, is that Wolan bought into it. That's why he leaped right away. Okay? Nowadays, as I pointed out to you, the Chinese, the Vietnamese, the Asians, they don't buy into that. They say it's illogical. Idiots. Whereas us Americans, people in this country, we are much more open-minded. They say, wow, it's so mystical. I like it. I like it. Especially those of you who are bored. Like this. All right? So that's a difference between sudden teaching versus gradual teaching. All right? And don't sell yourself short, okay? Because we in our small circle, we are testing you about your ability to receive the gradual teaching, the sudden teaching, okay? And it's illogical, and that's why it's very, very, it takes a lot out of you to be able to sit there and accept it. All right? Any other questions? That's a good question. Very good. Okay, follow-up question. The jewel, 5 fingers.
I have a question. Do you hear me okay? I was wondering if the sudden enlightenment, could you apply this to a bodhisattva to become a bodhisattva as well?
We don't understand. Can we test these things out before we get started?
Enlightenment doesn't work
It sounds like it's coming from a different planet, you know.
Hello.
Better.
Okay. Hey. So I asked the question from last week around. Okay. So, Master, do you mean that before the good note advisor tell us we're ready for the sudden teaching, we should follow what Venerable Warren was doing about stopping thoughts?
Yes.
And then also relate to that, what is sudden teaching before the enlightenment stage? Right, so there's sudden enlightenment, which I understood is that jump from gradual to sudden and to enlightenment. But then for those of us who are not enlightened, we are also receiving sudden teachings, right?
Right. So what is a sudden teaching? You ask me personally, because if I don't know what Master Huineng taught those people. Sudden teaching is the specific instruction that the good no advisor gives to the student at that moment. That's called sudden teaching. So that's why when you folks read Master Huineng's teaching to his students throughout the 6th Patriarch Sutra, to you it's sort of like intellectual thing. Okay, you say, oh wow, this is so interesting. He said so, and the guy becomes enlightened just like that, either right there instantaneously or within a very short time period. Okay, the same thing that happened between Shakyamuni Buddha and the first 5 bhikshus. Ashnata Kondinya, he was cultivating his butt off, and then Shakyamuni Buddha showed up and said, you shouldn't be so attached to the guest dust. And he certified the first stage arhat. That's called sudden enlightenment as well, albeit a very tiny, small enlightenment. Okay, so that's because the sudden teaching is the instruction bestowed from the good new advisor to the pupil. Okay, so as I said in one of those lectures, maybe Saturday, I said it happens because the good new advisor sees that the time is ripe and that the student is ready to receive it. So he's a worthy Dharma vessel. Okay? So that's why it takes that long to wait to see until the time matures, when the conditions are ripe for the student to get a certain teaching. All right? Does it help? So that's why I said the certain teachings, basically the instructions from the good advisor to the pupil. Okay? And these back at Master Huineng's time, the certain teaching is Master Huineng is so good that when he explained it, when he gave the instructions, his pupil became enlightened very quickly. Okay? Master YongHua is not as good. All right? So his certain teaching, I imagine when he teaches it, is different level of Master Huineng, therefore would take his disciples a lot longer to become enlightened. Okay, but still, it shortens the time for them to become enlightened, and the leap is still there. Yes, Orange.
Master, I have a question in regards to the process. So, let's say, I just wonder if you see, okay, this person seems like they have an opportunity now, so I'm going to teach them. But, maybe right at that moment they had a chance, but something happens, like maybe they don't leap. Does that happen sometimes?
It happens sometimes. That's when you shoot them.
Okay.
You say, you leap, but you're not enlightened. So when you land, you're going to break your leg. So we're going to have to shoot you. So yes, there's some risks involved. That's why you don't want to make them jump before they're ready. Okay. Any other questions? It's fascinating because this goes to prove to you that the certain teaching is you rarely find explanation about certain teaching, okay, except for the abundance in the 6 Patriarch Sutra, okay, and you notice that even this sutra, 6 Patriarch Sutra, has so many explanations, 注解 in Chinese. You have this abundance of explanations, including Master YongHua's, okay, which is one of the better ones. And yet, you go back to Master YongHua's explanation in this sutra. How often does he explain this concept of sudden enlightenment? I couldn't find any. Okay, it goes to show the kind of audience he has versus our audience. Okay, let me assure you, Master YongHua is perfectly capable of bestowing certain teaching. Remember, the certain teaching is bestowed to specific individuals. It's not meant for, I give you certain teaching, okay? That's for commercial purposes. It's not for enlightenment purposes, okay? But the audience that Master YongHua explained the Sixth Patriarch Sutra to, that was recorded and transcribed and translated into English for us, that audience is not that good. That's why he could not explain that much about certain teaching. Any other questions?
Master, one clarification. Actually, the sutra text, according to the sutra text, it was someone quoted Venerable Warren's words, and then Venerable Huineng responded with his words. So it sounds like the conversation was between Venerable Huineng and another monk, not Warren.
Okay.
And then just relate to that,
Right.
a
Okay.
comment is that I think it's pretty ambiguous if this words from Venerable Huineng is a sort of statement of his level, like the way his level sees things, or is it direct teaching towards his disciple. It's pretty confusing from the text for me, and I think that also makes it easy for people to say that they should just practice according to what Venerable Huineng's words and not doing the necessary part before, if they are the level of Venerable Warren.
I don't know exactly. It doesn't matter whether it's Warren or anyone else. Whoever that Master Huineng taught with his verse is the recipient of that certain teaching. And who cares who that is? He's Chinese. And he's dead already. What do we care? Okay? The teaching is for you to become enlightened. We don't care. Okay? For you, whether you're Chinese or Vietnamese or American, well, it doesn't matter. Certain teaching is for you to become enlightened. All right? So for me, it's fascinating to find out about how he trained these people, the way that he bestowed these things are just fascinating, because this is I must admit, this is much more detailed, much more fascinating than the information I got from Linji, Master Linji, or Master Weishan or Yangshan, because they don't have this kind of extensive certain teaching that's recorded by an enlightened disciple. Okay. So it's fascinating, so our contribution to this is that, first of all, we plant the seeds in you, okay? Because you deserve, for Mahayana to prosper in this country, okay? In our times, we need to increase the level of comprehension of Mahayana in the West, in the future generations. Okay, my generation, my master gave so much his disciples. And my generation look at you and said, well, if I give the same thing my master gave to my generation, then there's nothing much to add. Okay, he might as well stay home or get online and listen to his teachings. It turns out that we have an opportunity to add more to the Mahayana store in the West. And in doing so, I tend to clown around too much, I admit. But we're trying to differentiate between the Chinese heritage versus the American perspective. Okay, the way the Chinese do it is very Chinese. For us Americans, we do have to do it differently in order to make it more palatable to our people and our culture in modern times. What the Chinese do is applicable to the people, I would say, centuries ago. Okay, if you still apply the same teaching like the Chinese Dharma masters like to do, Muslims go up on this podium here and they talk about the old Chinese teachings, okay, to the Chinese mind, which believes more in a Western education. That's why it doesn't work anymore. If we follow that, we won't be able to help the third generation. Okay, so we have to change a little bit. All right, it takes people like Master YongHua to bring us Chinese Mahayana. No two ways about it. His Mahayana is Chinese. Okay, and then next is that because of our culture, okay, our role, our temple's role is sort of hybrids. We need to be able to connect from the Chinese culture, Asian culture, you will, to the Western culture. If you only have Chinese like my master, then you cannot connect with the Western culture. If you have only Western culture, okay, you cannot understand the Asian depth. Okay, so that's why you need a hybrid like us. Okay, my generation is hybrids. If you look at the pure Caucasians, they don't understand Master YongHua at all. I guarantee you that, because unless you're Asian, unless you're raised in an Asian culture, we have a lot of depth in our Asian culture that the Westerners, Americans, don't. That's why, people like Kan has to climb on board a boat and become boat people to come over here so that we can become hybrids. Okay? Because a hybrid is important. We need to bridge both. Okay? So I foresee in the future we have more hybrids. The Chinese who understand English, Chinese who come here from China, and then who become, adapt at the Western culture, who don't say that we Chinese are better. If the Chinese are like that, throw in the garbage bins. They're no good. Okay, if the Vietnamese like that, send them back to Vietnam. Okay, it has to be hybrid. You have to see, wow, there's some great things about Asian culture we need to preserve, and then there's great thing about Western culture that we need to bridge together. That's what my generation is supposed to do. Okay? Okay, and until we're able to migrate the Chinese wisdom totally into the Western language, we still need the hybrid to do the translation, to do the connection. Okay? And it will be like this for many, many generations, I assure you. I imagine it will be 300-400 years for that to happen. It's not that fast. So for us, we're barely scratching the surface. That's why I'm in a hurry. I'm more interested in other worldly things like gelatos, pizzas, because I know it's going to take 300-400 years. All right? So live a little. Let's live a little. Yes, Korean, 5 fingers. How do you say 5 fingers in Korean? 다섯서. Yes. Very good. Beep beep. Why don't you send it in writing, Jesus, to our Korean translator here? Huh? I give up on trying. There's so many technical difficulties from Korea, and you can tell that's a good sign, because the more obstructions.
Let me try one more time. Do you hear me okay now?
Maybe if the more obstructions we have, we get so excited. So my God, it's obstructions. Let's get the bazookas out. We're
Hello,
violent.
this is better now?
Maybe.
So the first question is, the sudden enlightenment, can it help a bodhisattva to become a bigger bodhisattva?
Why do you ask me?
Because in 6th Patriarch Sutra, it seems like most of these stories are about the arhats to become enlightened from the sudden.
Who says so?
Because you mentioned several times, right?
I did?
So,
Probably it was some bad days in the past.
okay. And then the second question is, in 6th Patriarch Sutra, the southern teachings were applied to some new. The Master Henan didn't have to do the planting seed part. Is it because they are culturally already prepared with the seeds?
No.
Because you mentioned that we need to plant seeds before we apply the southern teaching.
Yeah, but it's not just cultural. It could be, it's individual. It's not cultural at all. Okay, the certain teaching is bestowed on the specific individuals. So that means that you are not necessarily restricted to arhats only. Okay, certain teaching has no limitation. If it is limitation, it becomes low level certain teaching. All right. Now, this is, I need to caution you that the question is typical of you smart people. You're too smart. You try to understand too much. You want to know, give me the big picture. Give me everything you have. And then if we do that, there's no chance for us to monetize in the future. So it's then we are simply shooting ourselves in the foot. We don't do that. It's so typical of you smart people to try to have to understand everything, to get the big picture. But the problem is that you cannot get the big picture. Okay, all you can do is sit there and listen, week after week after week. You know, just I remember my master. He gave me a certain teaching, and year after year after year, I said, "Why did he say that? Why did he say that?" Okay, but the fact that unlike you. I only have one chance with him, so he gave me one one or two sentences and he's done. Whereas for you, I reinforce it week after week after week after week. So you are much better off. You have much higher chances because you have much better seats. Okay? But it's not meant for you to understand. And, we talk like this to help people at all levels, low level to high level. But if you were, I don't blame you for trying to say, tell me what I need to do so that I become a Buddha. I said, I love to tell you, but then if I tell you, then there's no need for us to continue to discuss sutras anymore. The reason we don't tell you is that so that we can give you more and more of the picture, of the big picture as we go along. If I give you one shot, then it's only for high-level people, not for low-level people. Okay? Any other questions? Internet question, yes.
So we have a YouTube question from T.Hugh. Question is, in order for a good knowing advisor to teach a student for sudden enlightenment, doesn't the good knowing advisor foresee the student's obstacles and can see if the student has planted good enough roots to receive the sudden teaching?
Sounds good. Sounds right. Yes, is the answer. Comma, I think. And that's from speaking from a logical perspective, but this person, which is a smart person, misses the point. What is the point? It's not about understanding. It's about believing. You guys always try to, when we tell you something, you guys always try to say, I agree, that makes sense to me. Okay? Whereas if you have more blessing, you say, wow, that's it, I'm going to do that. I don't care. Okay? Of course, it's more than that. But I'm trying to contrast to you that you are driven, your learning is driven by, I want to understand, I have to agree with it. I'm not stopping you from understanding. I'm stopping you from agreeing. You don't have to agree with it. If you agree with it, there's no need to teach you. We teach you something you don't agree with, that's why you're still stupid. Get that straight, okay? You're still stupid because you disagree. And that's where the Chinese culture is superior to our culture. The Chinese back then don't sit there and say, I agree, I disagree with you. I agree, this makes sense to me. Okay? The Chinese back then, they go to a Chan master. They say, Master so-and-so. The master says, hey! And I say, yes, thank you, thank you. Whereas over here, how can you talk to me like that? Sounds familiar? Master is so rude. So that's the limitation of the modern day education, is that you guys are stuck in your understanding, in your logic. And that's what's stopping you. You are stopping yourself. And so that's why I'm always fascinated by you smart people. I talk to smart people. The more I talk to you, the more fun it is for me to realize it's your smart that's stopping you. So it's more challenging to teach smart people. I prefer to teach stupid people. Most of my students, and fortunately, are stupid. Disagree? All right, any other questions? YouTube still has a question. Yes.
Yes, a YouTube question from Jesus. The question is there a transmission without words in the sudden teaching?
Is there a teaching without words? Yes. Next question.
No more questions from YouTube. Thank you, Master.
All right. Number 4, Sutra text. While the Patriarch was staying at Baolin Temple in Caoxi, the great Master Sheng Xiu was at Yuquan Temple in Jingnan.
时祖师居曹溪宝林，神秀大师在京南玉泉寺。
So there are 2 camps back then. Master Huineng, who is the new kid in the block, and Master Sheng Xiu, who is a known horse. And that's where you want to bet on the known horses like Sheng Xiu. Okay? Because Sheng Xiu is Master, the 5th Patriarch's senior disciple. He's a teaching assistant, if you will. Okay? And because of that reference, he has the credentials, the recognition, and he has the momentum of the many followers of Master, the 5th Patriarch. Okay? Whereas the 6th Patriarch is, he still has to establish himself as a great teacher. And of course, he has a few followers. And that's where you see the difference between a great teacher and a mediocre teacher. Great teacher, Master Huineng, when he was alive, he didn't have a lot of followers. Because it's very trying to follow Master Huineng's teachings. It's too demanding, too difficult. And as you can imagine, Master Huineng had so many eminent disciples that he cannot bestow low-level teachings like Sheng Xiu. Sheng Xiu had a lot of followers because these people were not disenchanted by his teachings. So that's why I recently, last week, I have a visit from a couple of bhikshus who came and asked me, how did you buy a big church like that, like Wei Mountain Temple? And he said, "Can you teach me how to do that?" I said, "Yeah, I can summarize it for you very quickly. It's called Lady Luck. Okay? And you just get lucky even though you don't deserve it." And so I brought two of my disciples to meet with these people. And he's a very young monk. He's about, I would say, around 40s. Okay, he looks very young, but I think he's around late 40s. And so I told my disciples, you see why they're successful. They came here recently, about a month, a year or two, and have a following. The disciples are willing to buy them a temple, $2 million temple. Whereas I've been here for 15 years, no one offered to buy me a temple. So you see, the more followers you have, chances are that you have more people who are rich, okay, who need to plant blessings, okay. For the disciple Master Huineng, they can cultivate because they're poor. They don't have to worry about the houses. They don't have to worry about material things. So that's why those people conserve all their blessings to cultivate and not spend them on worldly things. Okay, so that's the difference. So this bhikshu here, I told my disciple, you know why he's successful, and that's what the lesson you have to learn. Successful for 2 years and get someone to buy you a temple and people follow you like that is because what? Communication skills, very pleasant to talk to. Okay. So that's the difference between, I would say, the analogy, the parallel between Sheng Xiu and Huineng. Same thing. Sheng Xiu is very pleasant to talk to. That's why he has 10,000 followers. Whereas Master Huineng has 1,000 followers, a few thousand followers, because he yells at them. Not many can take that kind of abuse. Okay, when you go to, that's why I'm reminding you have 10,000 disciples. I pray to God you will remember to be pleasant. Okay, my master towards me, he never praised me once for the last 25 years. I'm still very bitter about this. Never, ever. I think it's unfair. I think it's racial discrimination. Chinese discriminating against Vietnamese. That's the only possible explanation. Next, 6 sutra text. At that time, the two schools flourished, and everyone called them Southern Neng and Northern Xiu. So it was that the two schools, Northern and Southern, were divided into sudden and gradual.
于是两宗圣化，人皆称南能北秀，故有南北两宗顿渐之分，而学者莫知宗去。
Sorry, I find it comical. So, Northern, Southern, Northern California, Southern California. You like? Hey, you like you? Northern, Southern. Southern where people become enlightened. This is so fun. So what are we doing up in San Jose, by the way? Vietnamese called bong chang. What's Bongkia in English? Being competitive. Yes, Orange.
Master, did you notice that there was another slight earthquake a couple of days ago, like 2 point something in San Fernando Valley? 2.7, I think, something like that. I just saw it mentioned.
2.7?
I think, yeah, something like.
Let's see, 2.7, usually 5. 2.7 is half. Nah, no way. Yeah. And that doesn't count. Anything below 5, we say it's Mother Nature being Mother Nature's quirk. I mean, you don't count it. You don't go 5 to 4.3 to 2.1. You know, it doesn't work like that, honey. You know, it's either 5 or not. You know, below that is not worth it. Move north. 8, Sutta text. Did I miss anything here? Sheng Xiu, also good teacher. People benefited greatly from under him, albeit gradually. Not true, but we are polite towards the old Chinese a little bit. I assure you, Sheng Xiu is not enlightened. If he's enlightened, he would not want 10,000 disciples. He says, get out of here. Go, to Orange County. Nonetheless, Sheng Xiu's followers continually ridicule the Southern Patriarch, saying that he couldn't read a single word and had nothing in his favor.
然秀之徒众往往讥南宗祖师不识一字，有何所长？
Okay, my commentary on slide 9. His disciples, Sheng Xiu's disciples, often ridicule 6 patriarchs' lack of formal education because the patriarchs, wait a minute, the patriarch never received certificates from anyone. So ignore all this. This is boring. It's for northern schools. Here's the problem. You ask me, this is typical Chinese explanation. You say, oh, yeah, Sheng Xiu is very good, and his disciple is excellent, and we're very honored to have them as colleagues. Not. Okay? If you ask me my opinion today in October 2020 at Wei Mountain Temple, is Sheng Xiu disciples often ridicule a sage. Sheng Xiu knows it. Yes? Will you agree with me that Sheng Xiu knows that the 6th patriarch is enlightened? His teacher gave it to him, gave him the bow and the rope. He didn't give it to him, he gave it to Huineng. So clearly, Master Huineng is enlightened. Yes? So far, so good? Huh? Okay. Now, he knows, he believes, not just know, he believes that Master Huineng is enlightened. Yes? Sheng Xiu must believe that Master Huineng is enlightened. No doubt in my mind. Okay? And under him, among the 10,000 followers, disciples, there's some who ridicule a sage. Right? He's aware of that. Is he aware or wasn't he aware? What do you think? Huh? He's aware. He has to be aware of it. Yes? Whose fault is it? Is that Sheng Xiu's fault or his disciples' fault? I ask you. Both? No, not both. The disciples are stupid. It's not much you can do. The stupid people do stupid things. Whether it's bad-mouthing Venerable Hui Neng or praising Sheng Xiu or praising Master Hui Neng, it's still stupid. They're stupid. They do stupid things. Right? But for them to keep on doing that, it's Sheng Xiu's fault. Is it clear? It's just common sense. It's logical. How can he, as a great Dharma master, a Chan master, allow his followers, although granted that his followers are actually disciples of the fifth patriarch. Many of them are disciples of fifth patriarch. However, he was their spiritual leader. Yes? They believe in him. That's why they keep on coming to his temple. They follow him. Okay? And there he was allowing his followers to badmouth a sage. Okay? That's how sad it is for Sheng Xiu, for his followers. Because Sheng Xiu's followers will definitely fall to the hells. Okay? Many hells, one of which is the hell where they hang you with a hook, and they take your tongue and they hook your tongue and they hang you up in the air. And they will torture you to death, and that's one kind of hell. Another kind of hell is they lay your tongue on the floor, and then they take some plows and they plow it, they shred it, like those cutting machines of the ham cutting machine you see in the supermarket. You know, they can have blades like this and go, okay? And that's a hell that's like that. They plow your tongues into slices, okay? Then you can make sushi with your tongue. So the point is that his followers, Sheng Xiu must know his followers will fall to the hells for bad-mouthing a great sage. I'm reminding you, okay? Those of you who are descendants of Sheng Xiu's disciples. Anyone who are descendants of Sheng Xiu disciples? Don't you remember? Okay? If you are their descendants, stop bad-mouthing other monks and nuns. Okay? You cannot win. Even if the monk is not enlightened, you still cannot win. Even if a monk is unenlightened and a very bad monk, you still don't badmouth a monk. Remember that. You cannot win. You always lose. You badmouth a monk who's good or bad. You don't badmouth monks, period. Is that clear? I need to emphasize this to you because it's new. Mahayana is new to the West. Okay? My master never had that problem. Okay? But these people, you know, even my master's disciples, you have to remember when you badmouth people, you're looking outside, you're criticizing others. Cultivation if you really cultivate, you look inside. You don't look at people's fault. You look at your own faults. Is it clear? It's a waste of time to look at people's faults. Okay? That's the difference between Northern school and Southern school. Remember where you are. We are Southern school. We don't criticize people. We don't badmouth people. It's none of our business. Don't make that mistake. Okay? Next, 10. Sutra text. As the students did not understand the doctrine, the master said to them, the Dharma is originally of one school. It is people who think of north and south.
师谓众曰：法本一宗，人有南北。
Again, translation, not too good. Okay. I would change this. Okay. Not originally. Fundamentally, the Dharma is just one school. Okay? The Chinese, they emphasize 法本. Bun here, okay, is emphasized. Okay, bun and fa are emphasized. Okay, so the Chinese is very strong. 法本一宗, meaning that the Dharma fundamentally one school. That's why it's a translation could be to stick to the Chinese original. The Dharma fundamentally is one school. Okay? 人有南北 people is no think here. Okay? Again, this is why the translation, if you will, sucks. People have north and south. That's the exact Chinese translation. People have north and south. And you leave it to people, for people to interpret this, whatever it means. Okay? So that's very Chinese. The Chinese, they have so many interpretations because it's very concise. It's very Vietnamese go down. I don't know what that is in English, but it's very succinct. Okay, so it leaves a lot of different interpretation. So you just translate as people have north and south, meaning that people are originally from the north or live in the south. Okay, or people still think north, still think south. Okay, so when you translate this as people think north and south, then you are leaving out people from the north or from the south, or there people live in the north but they think of the south. Like my disciples up north, they're thinking south right now. That's why they're tuning in. You see that? You see? So the translation, boys and girls, you have to be careful. You do not want to destroy this beautiful teaching from a great and extremely wise teacher. You understand now? That's why I sound a little bit critical of the translation, but you cannot dilute this great teaching by a poor translation. That's, to me, it's a shame. Okay? And by the way, this person here clearly is not even a third stage arhat. That's why they translate this in a crappy way like this. If you are third stage Arhat, you in the future, when you reach third stage Arhat, you should be making the resolve that say, I want to start translating. Okay? Then you probably can have a better translation than this. Okay, so commentary on slide 11. 神修 is it 神修? It's not 神修. Huh? Is it 神修 or 慧能? Well, one of them. Okay, I don't know, 神修 or sixth patriarch. It doesn't matter, okay? Whenever it is, okay? I feel that's more likely it's Master Huineng, not 神修, okay? But it doesn't matter. The point is that it doesn't matter who it is. The Dharma is fundamentally, not basically, one doctrine. And the people have south and north, okay? Meaning that the Dharma is only one Buddha Dharma, it's nothing else, okay? There's no Mahayana, no Hinayana. There is no Chinese, no American. We make fun of you. We say Chinese people because it's a wake-up call to poor Chinese who lost their ways. Okay, and we say American to see whether you become arrogant or not. And many of you, especially northern people, say, "Oh yeah, we American." Give me a break, you stupid. Okay, so the Buddha Dharma has no discrimination. It's not Chinese, it's not Korean, it's not Vietnamese, okay? Not American. But we are forced to use those labels to help you differentiate and pay attention. But once you understand, you really have real wisdom, you say that, okay? It's no more discrimination, okay? And people have different, prejudices. Okay? All right, next, 12. Sutra text. The Dharma is of one kind, but people understand it slowly or quickly. The Dharma is not sudden or gradual.
法纪一种
Rather, it is people who are sharp or dull. Therefore, the terms sudden and gradual. You should add the Dharma. That's what tripped me. The Dharma. Dharma is the grammatically is incorrect. It should be the Dharma. The Dharma is not sudden or gradual. All right? Sorry about that.
法纪一种，见有持疾，何名顿见？法无顿见，人有立顿，故名顿见。
Okay, so the teaching continues. The Dharma has only one kind. It's called the Buddha Dharma. Okay, they call
只有一
any Dharma. Okay. People who say, I'm Catholic, especially what happened to Apple's friend, the Catholic friend. Okay? He says, I'm Catholic, I'm forever Catholic. And I'm glad to hear that, because we need more people like that. Stay over there. We're too crowded already. I'm kidding. Please don't take it personally. It's no big deal, okay? If you really understand, okay, do you know that, and again, please, you Catholics, do not take offense, okay? Please, you Taoists do not get upset. But you know what happened? We, Buddhists over here, send our low-level people over there to help you guys out. Okay? You know why? Is it necessary? Why it's necessary to do that? There's a reason for that. It's not. I know that it sounds insulting, but there's a reason why we have to do that. Would you like to know? No Catholic here, right? No Taoist here, right? All right, so we're safe. Okay, keep it among ourselves only. Okay. The reason being that the demons, they send the people into Catholicism, they send people into Taoism, okay, to destroy it. So they keep on distorting it. They send people into Buddhism, monks and nuns, professors, and so forth, to destroy Buddhism from within. That's the best way to destroy it. Okay? Destroy Buddhism, destroy Catholicism, destroy Taoism, and so forth. We know that. So the only way to counteract that, to send people, we have our people with wisdom, to go over there and say, you know what, I know we've been doing this for 100 years, okay? But it's time to change, okay? Because if you don't change, the decay of Catholicism would be so bad that you will no longer recognize it, okay? So that's why the only way to deal with demons is wisdom. People who have real wisdom. So that's why the Bodhisattvas, enlightened people in Buddhism, they realize it. They bring forth the resolve, say, I want to go to Korea, because unless you have wisdom, they will sneak in and will destroy it, infect it, poison it from within. It's very serious business. Only enlightened people can recognize, that's wrong. Okay? And remember, in our system, you follow your teacher, right? You follow your teacher, and therefore, if your teacher does the wrong things, then the student says, it's okay for me to do it because my teacher does it. He has 10,000 followers. And then in the same way, they say, my teacher has 10,000 followers, whereas the other guy has 3,000 followers, or maybe 300. The other guy cannot be as good, and therefore he's a bad monk. Okay? And because the teacher here doesn't stop his students. You see that? And that's why Buddhism decays because of that. So that's why it's not uncommon for us to send the good teachers, the good enlightened people all over, whether it's Catholicism, whether it's Judaism, whether, Mormonism or whatever, okay, in order to help counter the demonic attacks, the demons who go in there, sneak in to cause decays in those great religions. So that's why when you think about that, it is a proof right there that for us Mahayana people, we don't see any difference between us and the Catholics and the Mormons and and so forth. We're all in it together. We're all here to help living beings. That's all. We don't discriminate. So when we're able to help you, help your followers, we'd be glad to do that. Does it make sense? All right, so the Dharma is one kind. It's only one kind of Dharma. That's called Buddha Dharma. You can call it Catholicism. For us, we still look at it as Buddhism. That's why we send our people over to help you. Does it make sense? And please don't tell your friend there, the Catholic. They get very offended. Okay? But people understand it slowly or quickly. Slowly, as you can call it slowly, whether it's Hinayana, Theravadan, Catholic, Judaism, they're all gradual to me. Okay? They understand it slowly, meaning they can understand so much. Or quickly, meaning these people think of themselves as birds. Okay? So quickly. And Dharma is not sudden or gradual. Buddhism is no sudden or gradual. Okay? It's rather, it is the people who can understand gradually or suddenly. That's the sharp, the one that can understand the sudden Dharma. The dull are the one that understand the gradual Dharma. They cannot understand the sudden Dharma. Okay? That's why we have to separate for your sake. Whose sake is it? Huh? Stupid people's sakes. Okay? So that's what it means. Okay? Because the sharp roots, the people who are superior, they don't need, you know, the low level things. But so that's why we don't explain that to them. We explain the gradual thing to the low level people. Okay, 14. Sutra text. But Sheng Xiu said. Okay, so I think before that, we should correct the slide here. It should be Hui Neng. Okay, not Sheng Xiu. We agree? Okay, it's not. Hui Neng, Sheng Xiu still believes that he's still southern and northern. He still believes that he should be a patriarch. Okay? But 14, Sutra text. But Sheng Xiu said, he has obtained wisdom without the aid of a teacher, understand the supreme vehicle deeply. I am inferior to him.
秀曰：“他得无师之智，深悟上乘，吾不如也。”
All right, 14. Okay, he, 神秀 said, 他得无师之智. Okay, 智. So he says, he attained the teacherless wisdom. Okay? Teacherless wisdom, meaning that this teacher here, his wisdom here, he developed on his own. And by the way, okay, and that's also Weiyang lineage training as well. Okay, just between us. So it is developed on his own. Okay, 自然智. Where is 自然智? Okay, forget 自然智. Okay, anyway, the Chinese have a lot of names. Don't worry about names. Okay, and there is another wisdom called solitary obtained, the practical Buddhas. That is from your own contemplation, not from a teacher's or outside help and so forth. don't worry about it. This is where I don't understand the Chinese are too verbose. They want to say no teacher's wisdom and teacher's wisdom and so forth. It's too Chinese. Okay? So Sheng Xiu says, 为母慧能 obtained the kind of wisdom that has no teacher, okay? And he deeply understand the supreme vehicle. And I am inferior to him, okay? This is, I'm not Chinese, but I understand that's how the Chinese talk. 我不如他, I'm not like him, I'm inferior to him. That's how the Chinese talk. Am I correct, you Chinese people? That's a Chinese expression, okay? 我不如他, okay? I'm inferior to him, he's better than me, that kind of thing, okay? I don't know how to translate it. To me, it's still nonsense, okay? The way I would put it is he's a very good teacher. If you say, I'm inferior to him, that shows you have no wisdom at all. Either that or you're lying. Yes? False modesty. This is what the Americans love and the Chinese love. I'm so modest, I'm so humble. Okay? If you do that, then you run the risk of lying. If you're superior and say, I'm inferior to him, you're lying through your teeth. Shame on you. Okay? So for us Americans, can I recommend an expression? Okay, you go to Korea, don't say, I'm inferior to Sunim so-and-so. Don't ever say that. Okay? You just say, he has great wisdom. And you pray to the Lord, that's true. Okay. Don't say I'm inferior to him. If you ever say I'm inferior to him, I will beat you on the head. Okay? Please don't do that. Leave it to the Chinese. Do Koreans have such expression? Huh? Sangwo? Huh? I'm just wondering about how Sunims talk. Do they talk like that? Hey, Korean Sunims, do you talk like that? Hey, you in Korea. Okay, if you do, stop it. Okay, next, 16, Sutra text. Furthermore, my master, the fifth patriarch, personally transmitted the rope and Dharma to him, and not without good reason.
且五师五祖亲传依法。
There should be some Chinese missing. For good reason. So you have to move this thing here. Move that Chinese thing here. This thing here. To before. Okay? This thing here is missing from the other slides. Move this to the other slides. This slide here. That should be here. And not without good reason. Move it and then pronounce and then read it. Good thing I understand a little bit of Chinese. You leave it to the Chinese, be confused. We'd be so confused.
且五师五祖亲传依法，岂徒然哉？
There you go. Okay, he says, my master, okay, gave the rotten bowl to him for good reasons. Okay, I don't know whether it's Chinese, and this is where I need help from a Chinese people. Is it how the Chinese talk? Okay, because to me it's too verbose. He's a Chan master. What is he doing? You know, all he has to do is say, "He's a sixth patriarch, idiot." It's not about proving that his teacher is right. You understand the difference? He's saying, I'm saying this so that you know because my teacher did the right thing. So his emphasis is my teacher did the right thing. You know, he did the right thing. I could have been given the rope too, but, you know, but he gave it to the other guy. Okay? It's always that. But there is attenuating circumstances. Okay? This is the low-life way of promoting yourself. You know, I'm not quite as good as him, but I'm not that much lower than him, if you will. Okay? That's why I deserve your loyalty, and that's for you. I understand why you follow me. Okay, but so the emphasis is about me and his teacher. And to me, what's wrong is that you shut up, right? You should not badmouth the sixth patriarch. You're a Buddhist and you badmouth another monk. How stupid can you be? That's what the problem is. It's not about the fifth patriarch transmitting the rope and bowl to Venerable Huineng. It's not important. It's that idiot, those idiots who are so arrogant, who are so stupid, okay, that you seize on the chance to correct them. Is it clear? He's still promoting himself. Oh, I'm so critical of the Chinese, what can I say? Okay, 18, Sutra text. I regret that I am able to make a long journey to visit him, as I unworthily receive state patronage here. But do not let me stop you. Go to Cao Xi and call on him.
吾恨不能远去亲近，虚受国恩。汝等诸人勿至于此，可往曹溪参决。
What can I say? Shall we pile on the criticism of the Chinese? Or shall we remain neutral and polite? Huh? Two Chinese. Okay? My problem. What is the problem? I cannot make a long journey, personally make the long journey to draw near him. That's what Venerable Sheng Xiu says. Okay? Because I still unworthily receive the state patronage. You buy that? Billy, you buy this argument? You read my mind. Huh? It's a lousy excuse. I cannot make the journey, okay, because in a Chinese tradition, our Chan tradition, we have a great teacher. We have to go there and ask for instructions. Yes, I'm encouraging you to go, but I can't go myself because I'm still receiving state patronage. What's wrong with that argument? I know, and then on the commentary slide here is, I'm very polite. I've, explained it the way the Chinese do. But since we know each other, we've been doing this for 3 years now. Can we stop being polite for a few moments and just let them have it? Okay? I don't care to read the commentary anymore. Okay? But what's wrong with this argument? Huh? Alone, what's wrong with this argument? So talk. So Chinese, so talk. Talk is cheap. Right? I can't go. I'm receiving state patronage. I'd love to go, but I'm indebted to the country. How can I let the emperor down? I need to support you. I need to support people. Excuses, excuses, and more excuses. What's wrong with these Chinese? Huh? Is it clear? I mean, the guy is a monk, and what does he do? He makes excuses. Okay? And that's why, now you understand. Why does it work? Huh? Why does it work? Because before that, he says, how are you today? I'm so glad to see you. Please come eat, sit down. Oh, let me give you some food to eat. And they kowtow to you, they kiss up to you so that you feel so good. And then and when you say, oh, I like him so much. Yeah, I understand where he's coming from. In order for this to work, he has to kiss up to you. Right? Can you see now why? Hey, you, when you go to Korea, we need to kiss up to people first. Because when you kiss up to them, you give them nonsense. They say, yeah, I eat it all up. I love it. I love your crap. Okay? Talk. Okay? Here's the problem. Okay? Excuses, and more excuses. Okay? If he feels he's unworthy to receive help from the government, what should he do instead? What? Don't receive the money. Send the check to us. Test us out and say, I received this $10 million check. I'm not worthy to receive it. Here you go. You take it. And then what do? Anyone looking? If I cash it, promise me that you will never tell anyone? If you feel you're unworthy, why are you receiving it? So it's BS, Chinese BS, if you will. Okay? But do not let me stop you. Go Zhao Si and call on him. Okay, let's see what the commentary, nonsense commentary we have. Okay, there you go. Next, 20, few more minutes. Sutra text. One day, Sheng Xiu told his disciple Zhi Cheng, "You're intelligent and very wise. Big problem. You may go to Cao Si in my behalf and listen to the Dharma. Remember it all and take careful notes to read to me when you return."
一日，命蒙人至诚曰：“汝聪明多智，可为吾道曹溪听法。若有所闻，尽心记取，还为吾说。”
Okay, now this guy is very clever. He says, I want to know what he teaches people, but I don't want to let people know that I'm spying on him. So I'm going to send my disciples, okay, and what do? Tell him that you go, and because you are my loyal disciples, you should go there and take careful notes of everything, record everything, and you make sure you tell me everything that you heard from this wise monk. Okay? Basically, it's called Chinese spy. Chinese is objecting. Yes. Sorry. Spying, no Chinese. Yes. Is there a question? Korea? Okay, there you go. Korea.
I feel that Korean culture is similar to the Chinese in this manner.
Korea used to be a province of China.
No way. Sorry, it's not true.
Not true. The Korean. No. Boo, 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 boo. I thought China, the Joseon king kowtowed to China for quite a while. Am I correct in Korean history? Am I missing something?
Before that, when we have three kingdoms, China used to be a Korean province.
I'm sorry, repeat that. So Korea used to be a Chinese province.
No, before that, when Korea was three kingdoms, China was also a province of Korea.
Okay, let's hear from a Chinese. Glad I'm Vietnamese. International disagreement. So send your armed forces over and take over Korea, China. Reclaim your territory. Okay, so I understand because my history comes from movies, Korean movies, and Korean series. I love the series when you have Korean king with so many wives. It's you learn so much on how so many, women can live together. The best of human nature. It's amazing for a small country, for a king to have so many wives. Anyway, so it's not true that Korea was never ever a province of China? Never? Never? I thought for a while Korea used to be kowtowed to the Ming dynasty, the Ming king. The Ming king. Ming? True or not? You guys are not historians. How can I trust you? You Koreans are so Korean. But anyway, so he, yes, speak.
Just temporary? Just temporarily.
So,
Fact checks.
they just just invade Korea, but they
Yes.
didn't get the country. Just they kind of it's not
No,
true.
the king really submitted
Just
to.
we respect the king of the China.
Okay.
Yeah, only that is not
Not respect.
Without-
You pay homage. You send money. You send taxes. You send stuff like that.
Something like
right.
that, but
But
it's
you're
not,
not recognized as a Chinese territory.
No.
That's what you
never.
mean.
Yeah,
I agree.
I love the
That's
history.
what happened in that movie. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
I remember now. Okay. I trust movies. I don't care. Okay. So. How did Korea get into the picture? This is Chinese Dharma. Okay, so anyway, so he basically says he chose his confident, his loyal, devoted disciple, and told him to excuse me, and tell him to go spy on 6 patriarchs. Okay, and he says, "Go there for me. I know you're loyal to me. You refuse this on my behalf, meaning I know you are not interested in going there yourself. That's what it means. On my behalf. 你中文嘅维护 for my sake, not my behalf. For my sake. See, the translation is too polite. For my sake. This is very close relationship that Sheng Xiu had with Chu Cheng. He said, I know you're devoted to me. Okay? Even if Venerable Hui Neng is even a Buddha, you will not even lead me. I know that. Okay? But I need you to go there for me. Is that clear? This is kind of relationship they have between the two of them. It's very special. So you can tell Sheng Xiu is a special monk to inspire that kind of loyalty and devotion from his disciple. He's not an ordinary monk, let me tell you that right now. He may be Chinese, but he's not ordinary to have that kind of loyalty and devotion, okay? To me, it's fantastic, okay? And to listen to the Dharma, okay? And whatever you can hear, meaning whatever you learn, okay? 精信记取, you should memorize, okay? Give your best effort to memorize and grasp it, okay? Memorize it and grasp it all. Don't let go. Can you see that? This is, you have to feel for Sheng Xiu. Why? When I read this in Chinese, you can see how heartbroken Sheng Xiu is. He says, I've been a long-time disciple of my teacher, 5th Patriarch. Okay? And he taught me so much. I helped him so much. But then came along Hui Neng, and within 8 months, my teacher decided to give him everything I ever wanted. I worked so hard for. My heart is broken. It hurts. Okay? That's why I say, you have to go there for me. Does it make sense to you now? He doesn't ask anyone. He asks his number 1 disciple. Okay? Go there for my sake. For my sake, not on my behalf. On my behalf, in English, is too polite. It's 为我. It's for my sake. It's very, very personal request from his heart. Okay? I trust you. I want you to know that my heart is hurt. I'm hurt. My feelings are hurt. I want you to go there because of that. Go there and absorb everything. Okay? Don't let go of anything and bring it back to me. Because I want to know what my master, what my teacher gave him. Can you see how heartbroken Sheng Xiu was? You're not a monk, so you don't understand. You know how badly Sheng Xiu felt when he realized that Venerable Hui Neng had so much, received so much from a 5th Patriarch. He got just followers, bloodsuckers. Okay? Can you see that? Well, you're not a monk. I can't blame you. Okay? Boring commentary. Okay, 22. Oh, it's past time already. Next time, 22. Any final questions? Thank you. Okay, no.